Welcome to your Algebra 2 5.0 to 5.3 test review involving quadratic and radical equations and inequalities. We are going to cover quadratic, which is an x squared, and radical, which is the inverse, equations and inequalities. This video will cover the first page of your test review. Number 1, solve each equation by factoring. Keyword right here is by factoring. And when you factor, you want to set everything equal to 0. And always make sure that you have it in the order of highest degree, ax squared plus your bx plus c, and set it equal to 0. Okay? So, number 1. First step, you want to move everything over. So you have it set equal to 0. So I'm going to add 6x. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And then I'm also going to add 5. And so I have everything set equal to 0. So now you have x squared plus 6x plus 5 equal to 0. See, just like that. Okay? Next step, you want to multiply 1 times 5, which is 5. And what two numbers multiply to give you positive 5, and it's going to add to give you 6. That's positive 1 and positive 5. Draw your two sets of parentheses. X and x plus 1 plus 5, all equal to 0. Notice your a here is a 1. Since it's a 1, if you divide anything by 1, it's itself. Set this one equal to 0. X plus 1 equal to 0. Solve. Subtract 1. X is equal to negative 1. Set this one equal to 0. Solve. Subtract 5. Subtract 5. So x is equal to negative 5. Okay. You should be able to plug it into the original, and it should come out to be equal. Two solutions, because your highest degree is a 2. Number 2. Okay. On number 2, I'm going to move everything over also. Minus 40v plus 32. Just like that. So now you have 8v squared minus 40v plus 32 equal to 0. Notice I wrote it in this order of quadratic standard form. Okay. Now if you take a look, is there any number that goes into 8, 40, and 32? Well, 8 goes into all these numbers, so I'm going to factor out my greatest common factor, which is 8. And when you do that, you basically are dividing each of these terms by 8. So you have v squared minus 5v plus 4 equal to 0. Okay? Next step, it says by factoring. So I'm going to, there's a 1 here. So 1 times 4 is positive 4. With two numbers multiplied to give you 4, and it's going to add to give you negative 5. Negative 1 and negative 4. So I'll bring down my 8, draw my two sets of parentheses. V and V minus 1 minus 4. Set each of these equal to 0. 8 is equal to 0, which is not true, so I can discard that. Set this one equal to 0. V minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides. V is equal to 1. Set this one equal to 0. Add 4 to both sides, so V is equal to 4. And there are your two answers. Number 3, it still says solve each equation by factoring. Okay. So on number 3, let's take a look. It's already set equal to 0. Let's see what we've got. You have two terms, 1, 2. Factor out their greatest common factor. What numbers goes into 6 and 27? 3 goes into 6 and 27. They also have an m in common, so I'm going to factor out 3m. When you're factoring out, basically you are dividing, okay? So let's see what you have left. 6 divided by 3 leaves you 2. M squared divided by m leaves you m. Negative 27 divided by 3 leaves you negative 9. M divided by m cancel, equal to 0. Set each factor equal to 0. So this first one, you've got 3m is equal to 0. Divide each side by 3, so m is equal to 0. Set this one equal to 0. Solve for m. Add 9. Divide by 2. So this is 9 over 2, 9/2. Number 3. Number 4. We got 3 terms this time. Let's set it all equal to 0 by moving the 3 over. So you have negative 3n and negative 18. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite it in standard form. So you have n squared minus 3n minus 18 equal to 0. So you have 1 times negative 18 is negative 18. What 2 numbers do you know multiply to give you 18? Negative 18 is going to subtract to give you 3. That would be 6 and 3. And the 6 is going to be negative, and the 3 will be positive because your middle term is a negative. Let's go ahead and factor. Draw 2 sets of parentheses. Factors of n squared is n, and the 2 numbers minus 6 plus 3. Okay. Set that first group equal to 0. Add 6 to both sides. N is equal to 6. N plus 3 equal to 0. Subtract 3 on both sides, so n is equal to negative 3. Number 5. Okay? Same thing. First thing you want to do is you want to add 1 to both sides. So now I have p squared plus 2p plus 1 equal to 0. Because what you do to one side, you do to the other. That cancels. All right. 1 times 1 is 1. What 2 numbers multiply to give you 1, and it's going to add to give you 2. 1 and 1. So draw your 2 sets of parentheses. P and P plus 1 equal to 0. Set each one equal to 0. P plus 1 equal to 0. So P is equal to negative 1. Okay. Same thing. P plus 1 equal to 0. So P is equal to negative 1. What that means is, since the answers are exactly the same, if you were to graph this, it's going to hit negative 1 right here. The quadratic, the parabola, is going to come down and it's going to bounce up. Whereas the others will go across and come back up. Okay? For example, I'll show you number 6 about what that means. So this is negative 1 twice. Another way you can put it is it has a multiplicity of 2. That means it occurred twice, and you're going to have a bounce. Number 6. I'll show you number 6 about what your graph would look like, to kind of give you an idea what the solution means. Number 6, let's look at number 6. I'm going to add 56, so I'm going to rewrite this as n squared minus 15n plus 56 equal to 0. Okay? So what 2 numbers multiply to give you 56, because there's a 1 here, and it's going to add to give you 15, 7, and 8. And both of those has to be a negative. Draw 2 sets of parentheses. So n minus 7, n minus 8. Okay? Set each one of these equal to 0. N minus 7 equal to 0, so n is equal to 7. Set that one equal to 0. N minus 8 equal to 0. Add n to both sides. N is equal to 8. Now let me show you what the graph of number 6 looks like in comparison to number 5. Okay? This is your x, this is your y. Here is 7, and here is 8. So when you have roots, this is where you're crossing the x-axis. It's going to, your parabola is going to come down, go across 7, go back up, cross 8, and that's where you're crossing the x-axis. These are your roots, or you could even call it your x-intercept, and another word for it is zeros. All those 3 means the same thing. And that's the reason you are solving each equation by factoring. You're solving for where it crosses the x value. In this case, this would be an n. Okay. Number 7. Okay. Let's go ahead and rewrite this in the correct order. Plus 2x. So I'm going to write 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to 0. Okay. All right. 3 times, now, this a is not a 1. That a is going to come into play in just a little bit, okay? So before we start, let's take a look. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. We are going to use the bottoms up method. What two numbers do you know multiply to give you negative 24, and it's going to subtract to give you positive 2? That'll be positive 6 and negative 4. Now let's rewrite it. X, draw your two sets of parentheses, and x plus 6 minus 4. Okay? You remember how I said that a is going to come into play? What is that a? That's a 3. So you're going to divide each one of my factors by 3. Now, do not do the bottoms up because you're factoring, but you're solving. Know what your goal is, okay? You could do that, but when you're actually going to solve, you're going to have extra step. So I'm going to rewrite this first. So x plus 6 divided by 3 gives you 2. Next one, negative 4 over 3 does not simplify, so I'm just going to keep it like I see it. Now set each one of these equal to 0, okay? So x plus 2 equal to 0, x is equal to negative 2, right? Set this one equal to 0. X minus 4/3 equals 0. Add 4/3 to both sides, so x is equal to 4 over 3. There you go. Okay. Now let me show you what happens if you did do the bottoms up method. All right? So when you get to about right here, if you did the bottoms method, this is what you'll have. X plus 2, and then you would move the 3 up, so you would have 3x minus 4, set that equal to 0. Then you would solve like you always do, setting it equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 2. Same over here, 3x minus 4 equals 0. You add 4 to both sides, divide by 3. Notice how you get the same answer, but when you're solving, you just have to use that extra steps. Whereas this part right here, you can just add 4/3 to both sides. See how you get the same answer? Here's you doing it bottoms up. Here you're almost finished. Number 8. Okay. Number 8, greatest common factor. Nothing to factor out, so I have to go 5 times 9, which is positive 45. Okay. Now, what two numbers multiply to give you 45, and it's going to add to give you 18. So, if you are not great with your numbers, with your multiplication factors like you should be, but if you're not, you know what? It's okay. Let me show you a way to do it. If you turn on your calculator and go to y equal, let me go ahead and clear mine. If you type 45 divided by x, just like that, and go to your table, it will help you find two numbers that is going to multiply to give you 45, but it's going to add to give you 18. Now, if you scroll through here, okay, I'm going to start right here. Do you see any number that is adding up? So don't even look at the fraction. 5 and 9, 18, no. 9 and 4, 18, no. Okay. 15 and 3, is that 18? So there are your two numbers. So if you do not know your multiplication well, please go learn them, but here's a way that can help you also. It only works for two numbers. So you got 15 and 3, and both of those have to be a negative. So remember, this a is going to come into play later, okay? Two sets of parentheses. So you got r minus 15, r minus 3, right? Remember that a? Divide each side by a, which is 5 in this case. So let's go ahead and simplify. So r minus 3, parentheses, r minus 3 over 5 equal to 0. Notice I did not bring it up. All right, set each one equal to 0. R is equal to 3. Set this one equal to 0. Add 3/5 to both sides, so r is equal to 3 over 5. And there you have it by factoring. Number 9, it says, solve the following functions for their roots using, keyword here, square roots. Make sure you read the directions. At first it was by factoring, so I had to do it all by factoring, the first 8. Now these last two right here, we're going to do it by square roots. All right. Okay, keep in mind that when you are solving, you're trying to see where it crosses the x-axis. Whenever it crosses the x-axis, your y is always a 0, okay? So I'm going to make this y a 0. So 0 is equal to negative 1/3 x minus 3 squared minus 2, okay? Now, you see this negative? Let it go with the 1 or the 3, but not both. Because if it's both, it should be positive. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. So, I'm solving for x. First step, add 2. So 2 is equal to negative 1/3 x minus 3 squared. Okay? You want to keep this together before you take a square root. So I've got to get rid of this fraction. Notice it's divided by 3. What's the opposite of divided by 3? Times 3. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And if you want, you could go ahead and make it a negative 3, and that'll get rid of that negative as well. So now you have negative 6. 1 times all of that leaves you x minus 3 squared. Okay? So I just saved myself an extra step when I made it a negative 3. When you get to this part, now you can take a square root. What is the opposite of a square? Well, it is a square root. See that right there? All right, so now you have square root of negative 6 is equal to x minus 3. Notice you cannot have a negative under the radical, so this is going to come out as an I. Okay, so you've got I square root of 6 is equal to x minus 3. You're solving for x. Add 3 to both sides. 6 is under the square root. 3 is not. So, cannot combine them. So your solution is 3. By the way, this is plus or minus. Plus or minus I square root of 6 is equal to x. Try to write your imaginary solution as a second part, okay? Because you want it in the form of a plus bi. And there's your solution for number 9. Number 10. All right. Equal to 0, because that's where you're crossing the y-axis, is at 0. So you have negative 2, x plus 3 squared plus 3. You're solving for x, subtract 3 from both sides, so that leaves you with negative 3 equals negative 2 times x plus 3 squared. Okay. Divide by negative 2, what you do to one side, you do to the other. So now you have 3 over 2 is equal to x plus 3 squared. Alrighty, next step. Now, you see how you have a square? How do you get rid of the square? You take a square root. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And when you take a square root, you always have 2 answers. So now you have plus or minus square root of 3 over square root of 2. Same thing. Equals x plus 3, okay? Rule says you cannot have a radical in your denominator, so you have to rationalize. So what does it mean to rationalize? So you multiply the numerator and denominator by square roots of 2, okay? So when you do that, guess what you have? Plus or minus, square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is square root of 6. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is just 2, because it's the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Equals x plus 3. Subtract 3 on both sides. Okay, cannot combine the two. Write them separately, so your final answer is plus or minus, let's rewrite it first. Let me rewrite it quickly. Negative 3 plus or minus square root of 6 over 2 is equal to x. Okay, you could write that first if you like. It doesn't matter to me. But notice how your division is a 2 here. Okay. Another solution you can rewrite is you could have rewrote it this like, put a 2 under here too as well, so you have negative 6 plus or minus square root of 6 over 2. And this is also an acceptable answer. And let me show you why that is true. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Square root of 6 divided by 2 is this part right here. These are exactly the same answer, okay? Good luck. Have a great day.